Hi, welcome to Producer Showcase. My name is Steve Poulos. As we do with each episode, we try to bring you folks who are starting new programs here at Channel 3 in Biddeford, and today is no exception. I'd like to introduce you to Tony Florent. Tony is a Boy Scout troop leader, and actually he's going to be hosting this new show in Biddeford, and we know we're going to enjoy it. And I got a lot of questions for him as someone who has never been in Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts for that matter. I want to find out what it's all about. So, Tony, thanks very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And I wonder if you could just introduce the folks you brought with you today.
Sure, thank you. So, thanks for the introduction.
Sure.
Again, my name is Tony Florent. I'm the Scoutmaster for Troop 308 in Biddeford. To my left, I have Lori Lewis, who is one of our committee members and mother of Adam Lewis, who happens to be our assistant senior patrol leader. Adam's role is basically the second top youth leadership role in our troop. And then to his right is Denali Myers Florent, my son, who is our senior patrol leader. And so he holds the top youth leadership position in the troop.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, and I will have to say, tell everybody out there that Lori was kind enough to join us today. Actually, there was a vacancy. Someone was not able to make it due to, I think it was football practice.
It could have been, yeah.
And something important, I'm sure.
Right.
And she graciously accepted an invitation to sit in, and really we didn't have to, well, I guess we did sort of force you, but thanks very much.
Really.
Thank you very
That's
much.
a tough thing to do. One of the things I guess we'll start off with, as a lot of people out there, I know the answer to some of these questions,
Sure.
but I think a lot of people probably are asking, A, what are Boy Scouts, and why?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important today?
Sure. I will start answering that question by saying that this is primarily a youth-led organization. That's our goal, especially at the Boy Scout and the venture level. There's several levels of scouting. There's Cub Scouts who are traditionally 6 to 10-year-olds. There's Boy Scouts who are 11 to 18, and then there's venturers who are 14 years old to 21. And the venturers actually are a little bit unique in that it's a boy and girl program, so it's co-ed from 14 to 21.
Oh.
But as I mentioned, it's a youth-led organization, so I'm going to let the youth answer some of the questions as an opportunity to basically show their leadership and give them that opportunity.
And I know Adam's been chomping at the bit to talk about things.
He's been looking forward to some of this, sure. Yeah. So I think the question was basically, why Boy Scouts? Why would one of you guys choose Boy Scouts to be an extracurricular activity?
Well, I can't really think of any reason why I wouldn't choose Boy Scouts as an extracurricular activity. The friends that I've made throughout scouting are among some of the best friends I've ever made in my life. I know I met my best friend through Boy Scouts. Known him for 8 years. One of the best men I know. The skills that you learn not only help you in Scouts, but help you with your everyday life. Problem solving, management, anything. It's good to know.
I like Boy Scouts because it teaches us leadership and pretty much like everything else Denali said. Like it's good to like learn outdoor skills, which is good.
Well, and that's one of the things I think earlier we did talk a little bit about, and that was one of the things that I noticed right off the bat that I was kind of answering my own question is about why. And I'm thinking, it's very unusual. Oh God, maybe about a year or two ago, I happened to be driving by a field in town here and saw a bunch of kids. It was just an unorganized group of kids out there playing stickball. Now, when I was a kid, that's what you did.
Right.
They didn't have any kind of video games or anything. Everything was the real world, not virtual.
Sure.
And I kind of see that with this organization is kids are back kind of doing what we always did.
Right.
Back then it was just an organized group of kids. Now it's like probably the only way kids seem to be doing things. Is that the way you guys see it? Do you really enjoy getting out there and kind of getting your hands dirty, as it were? And
I see it as there's a lot of valuable lessons that can only be learned through going out and doing those examples that you said, not spending your time on computer and video games. It's really good for kids to get out because they might not always have parental guidance or means to get to do things that they want, and we provide a strong push to be able to do that. And if the parent can't make it, we have hopefully people who will be that surrogate parent for that weekend or that week when they go to summer camp. And they get to have that sense of this person's watching out for me, but they don't have to be my parent.
And that's a absolutely fantastic point, because that's another thing in today's world that was different than not too long ago. You know, people are lucky enough to have a job, and when they have a job, they're lucky enough to have one good job. And usually, with especially young families of age of kids that may be involved in an organized, not sport, but events such as the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, whatever. You know, you might have a two-parent working family, and they're kind of trading off responsibilities, and they don't have really the luxury of having the time to actually, on a day-to-day thing, take care of kids like that and get them into an organized thing. And that's great that you have, you know, you mentioned about, I don't know, do they call them, they don't call them den parents, I guess, with
Sure, they could.
den parents
Yeah,
or
at
troop
the Cub
leaders
Scout
or-
letter, you have den leaders.
Okay.
At the Boy Scout level, you have adult leaders that are, well, in my role as a Scoutmaster, so I hold the top leadership position in the troop. But we have assistant Scoutmasters, which are critical to usually, there's a lot of organization, so without getting into the full organization
Right.
lesson of how it's all split out, the quick of it is there's a adult committee that basically supports the Scoutmaster in running the program. And so Lori is part of that committee. You know, to Denali's point about going to summer camp and someone might be a surrogate, you know, parent for that week, and as a parent who's gone for a full week of summer camp as a leader, I can do it, but other people can't. And so where other people can't, they help out on the committee and serve in other roles, like someone might be a finance person and be our treasurer. Someone might be good at organization, and so they're our committee chair. Another person may just want to do fundraising and organize
me.
bottle drives. So, you know, there's different opportunities for leaders that if someone can't take a week off work or a weekend to go camping, they can do other things. I don't know if you want to speak to any of that per se, but.
Yeah, I mean, the camps can be expensive, so it's great for the boys to have their own opportunity to go out there and help raise some of this money. Each scout has an account, and, you know, through bottle drives or popcorn sales, or we've done a dining for dollars, it helps the boys earn their own money to do these things that the scouts do. Camps, they did a rock climbing adventure this year.
Well, that's great. Now, as a mother of a scout, what now, you know, fathers, mothers, we tend to look at things differently. You know, the guy might see the value in, yeah, he can go out there and rough it and this and that, and knows how to build a fire, and he's going to save himself if he gets attacked by a bear or whatever. But from a mother's point of view, are there other things that you see in your son that maybe wouldn't be there if he was not involved in something such as Scouts?
Oh, absolutely. I think Scouts has definitely helped him be a more well-rounded individual. He's not as scared to speak out in public as he once was, or even just communication with other children. He was shy in the beginning, but now, anytime I pick him up from, say, Scouting Week, he'll introduce me and say, oh, I want you to introduce somebody from Brunswick or Topsom or Freeport that he wouldn't have otherwise known.
Well, that's great.
It's a great opportunity for
So
them.
it isn't just a clear-cut thing with this. You know, it seems to me like basically you name it, they can get it out of the Scouts.
Yep.
One of the things we were talking before, and I think Adam or Denali mentioned about cooking show.
Yeah.
Now, that is
Right.
great because let's face it, we all, especially guys, would love to eat.
Right.
But you don't necessarily, you think of somebody else always doing the cooking or, you know, giving you McDonald's, but you guys seem to be,
Yeah, I'm actually going to punt to Adam if I can interrupt for a
Sure,
second.
absolutely.
Because Adam and another scout of ours, Thomas, took us to we have a property out on 111 that we go to every so often, and you know where I'm going with this. So do you want to just highlight one of our out and scouting kind of events that we did up at Scoutland?
Sure. Well, what we did is we took a troop, and we took 2 Dutch ovens with 1 patrol, or 2 patrols. Each of them had their own Dutch oven, and we set them off with food and told them to cook for us well, not for us, but for all of them. I mean, it turned out all right, but I think we definitely could have done better.
But I guess there's a couple lessons in there. You kind of see that, gee, it isn't just like open up a can of raviolis and eating it out of the can.
No, we've
There's-
had that kind of experience
Yes,
too.
I think we all have more than once.
Yeah.
But now let me ask you something. What is a Dutch oven?
A Dutch oven is it's like a cast iron, kind of like a pot, and then it has like a lid.
Okay.
And
And
you
you,
can-
you heat that up over a campfire or whatever? and-
You can use like hot coals.
Coals, okay.
And you put some on top and some on bottom.
Now, it's funny because you know how to do all this stuff, but, you can imagine there are a lot of people out there that, my God, you put them in the middle of the woods, they would starve to death. They literally would, be lost and in trouble and cold and everything else, and you guys obviously learn, quite a bit. Now, when you talk about what is it that do you actually enjoy cooking as well, Denali?
Dutch oven cooking is one of the most enjoyable cooking methods I think I've ever known. You can make really good food, and you can make almost anything. I've made Dutch oven pizza, apple cobbler. You can make spaghetti in it if you really wanted to. It's a one deal cooking extravaganza.
Oh, I love that. It isn't quite an extravaganza when I do the cooking, but there again, I mean, I've had
When these
to-
guys do, it can be an extravaganza.
Well, and it sort of reminds me of, like, I guess, in a way, a crock pot type of thing
It's
where you can
Essentially
cook.
what it is.
It's
It is,
essentially a
okay.
crock pot, right?
And I think some of the best food I've eaten, and it's unbelievable,
Right.
come out of a crock pot. Everything
Yeah.
is just,
Yeah, you can stack these Dutch ovens and actually cook a 3-course meal. And there's a method to it that these guys have learned that, you can layer the Dutch ovens and you put a certain, I can't remember how many degrees are. These guys probably know better than I do, but the charcoal briquettes put off a certain BTU. And if you want to cook something at 400 degrees, you put that X number of briquettes on the top, under the bottom, and you can stack your Dutch oven so it cooks thoroughly all the way through. So they learned a lot about cooking, cleaning. You could talk, I know you know, but Adam can speak to, there's a cleaning method that, sometimes from a mom's perspective, I'm sure she can appreciate this. We don't see the cleaning happening at home, whether it's, delegating, chores in the house or whatever. But when we go to summer camp, specifically the one that we went to this summer, twice a day, these guys were doing what we call the 3-pot method to cleaning everything they needed to clean after each meal. I don't know if you want to speak to that real quick.
Oh yeah, well the 3-pot method is we have 3 buckets. There's one warm, one hot, and one cold. The first one has soap and is warm. The second one is just straight water, and it's hot. And the last one has a sanitation tablet that we use. It's like that big, and you just put it in there and it dissolves.
well, that's, it's funny because in a way that goes up the line, and I noticed earlier when we were talking, you mentioned about organizational skills and everything, and I guess that in a way kind of helps you too. You said after you do a certain way each time, or you make sure that after each meal or whatever.
Right.
So it's not just about getting clean, but it also teaching you responsibility and and taking care of yourself. I just wanted to let folks out there know that you're watching Producer Showcase, and today we're talking about scouting, but the whole idea of this show is actually to give you a little bit of information about a new show that's going to be starting. Tony's going to be involved with, and it's actually about scouting. And he'll be inviting people to actually come to the studio here that are interested in joining Scout, and get some literature and talk about some of the interesting things about scouting as we are today, but a lot more depth. This is just sort of around the peripheral. But getting back to the show again, it sounds really interesting. The first thing, it's funny, but it's ignorance, I understand that. But, the first thing people say scouting, I think Eagle Scout.
Sure.
And I guess that's like the top.
Yeah, it's
Scout.
it's the hardest earned requirement in Boy Scouts of America, with around 600 requirements in order to achieve.
Okay. Well, it's funny because people will put that in a category. I wasn't in the Scout. I was in the Marine Corps.
Sure.
People say, oh, well, this, or people that were maybe in the SEALs or whatever.
Right.
And but it's funny, whenever they talk about somebody being like an outstanding person,
Right.
if they were in the Boy Scouts, and especially if they were an Eagle Scout, it seems to always be mentioned. I mean, somebody could be running for president, and they would have that in there.
Sure.
little
We've had
bio.
astronauts, presidents. yeah,
Absolutely.
sure, right.
And why is that?
Years of dedication to get there.
Okay, so you've had to do an awful lot. It's not like you can't buy your way to an Eagle Scout badge, right?
And on the subject of why the important people such as the presidents, the astronauts are Eagle Scouts, that they become so successful, I really want to attest to it's because of our Scout law. We have 12 mottos 12 words that we try to live by every day. And those mottos are what, if we try to achieve and we achieve them, it makes us that person. If you look at a good friend, you always want your friend to be those 12 points.
Okay, and what are they?
It's trustworthy, so you always want your friend to be trustworthy. Loyal, your friend should always have your back. Helpful, you always want your friend to be helpful. Courteous, nice, you know what I mean. Just
Yeah.
be courteous, open doors
Yeah.
for old ladies, that kind of stuff.
Experienced folks. yeah.
Obedient, you want them, obedience isn't really with your friend, but
Right.
have the respect to be like, you might know better, so I'll listen to you.
Right. Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
That's okay. Well, it's easier when we're doing it
Of
It's
course.
easier when you do it
consecutively,
Of course,
right, yeah.
consecutively,
I
it's-
understand
Go
that.
ahead and jump in and let him help him out.
Cheerful, scouts, the cheerfulness of seeing scouts at camp sing songs, do skits, it's really something watching or seeing around a campfire and watching creativity flow. Thrifty, learning how to use plants and being able to cook in a Dutch oven versus only thing I know what to do is use your microwave macaroni and cheese. Brave, you always want your friend to be brave, which goes along with the loyal, being able to stand up for you. Clean, your mind's clean, stay physically clean, no like
Basically your morals.
morals.
Yeah. Reverend.
Yeah, and then reverent, duty to God. Make sure that you respect all religion, even if you disagree with your religion. You do not say yours is wrong. You respect that they have their beliefs.
Well, and that's a good point. This is something that maybe some folks will be thinking of. Religion.
Right.
How does that play into this? Is it all inclusive, the Boy Scouts?
Yeah, so I'll take that question. So from a religious perspective, the Boy Scouts of America, actually the larger Boy Scout organization, which is the largest youth organization in the world, accepts any religion. I want to say there's a recognition of, at least from a earning a badge perspective, there's at least 44 in the U.S. that are recognized from a program perspective. That if you're Catholic, there's a particular series of awards that you can earn that the Boy Scouts recognize, so that you can wear it on your uniform. If you're Protestant, if you're a Buddhist, so there's even Wicca. So there's multiple recognitions of faith. The Boy Scouts membership policy speaks to having faith, and it doesn't define that. It doesn't define what that faith has to be. So it's open in that respect, and I think embraces, quite frankly, the spirit of America. And that we're free to practice the faith that we have. But it is an organization that believes faith is very important. So
And I would have to say, speaking to the 12 points, I think that's what you talked to them about. Very, very, they kind of interchange with a lot of people as far as the religion
exactly.
goes, in the sense that you would expect a lot of those same 12 points
Right.
in most religions, I think.
Yep.
So in a way, I guess it makes sense, and it's not just being all inclusive, but you speak to the fact that you actually have certain courses or certain.
Yep, the individual religious
individual,
organizations
which
can
is-
actually work through that with the Scout.
Which
Yep.
is even better. It's
Right.
even more,
Right.
inclusive, not just, well, we accept anybody, but we're actually working, which is, I think, important, because I think a lot of people, I always believed that that was a Christian organization, but
Right.
it may have been so when it was started, but, as you pointed out, a lot of things have
Absolutely.
changed. And so I don't forget, you mentioned about young women being involved
Sure.
in the Scouts.
Sure.
What would be the difference, I suppose, between being involved in the Boy Scouts
Right.
or the Girl Scouts at that age? Is it just the different type of badges that you earn or the different type of things that you do, or is it,
Right.
I mean, there must be a little bit of a difference.
Girl Scouts, I'm trying to
I
remember.
can hop in on that for
Okay,
the
go for it.
venturing aspect at
And I
least.
realize, and by the way, I realize this is all new, and
That's fine, yeah.
and it's, I understand that,
No
and
problem.
that you're not gonna right off the top of your head maybe have all the, but
For 14 years old through 21, we have the venturing program in the Boy Scouts. The ranks are different. You can get numerous awards. I believe there's 6 bronze awards, and numerous other awards, such as the Trust Award, which is all based on religion. Outdoorsman Award, Best of the Best in the Outdoors. You have bronze, gold, and then the Silver Award is the highest achievement in venturing. So that's basically the equivalent of Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts.
oh, okay. So, and it makes sense in the sense that, even within organized sports within the high school, you have
Like
girls.
your Letterman.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have girls that have, you may have a girls' hockey team, but there are girls that play on the boys' team,
Right.
and vice versa. I mean, there are guys that may be cheerleading and stuff.
Right.
So I understand that we've come a long way.
Sure.
As they used to say, what was it, the Benson and Hedges commercial, we've come a long way, baby,
Absolutely.
or something like that.
Wow, there we go. He's pulling it.
And
That was just for you and me.
Actually, you probably don't remember that. I don't know. Hopefully you do, or else that really shows. But I can tell you one thing, just from talking to Denali and Adam, that you can see, you can see what. How long have you been?
This will be my 10th year in scouting, 6th year as a Boy Scout.
And how about you, Adam?
6th or 5th.
I'm saying this is like my 4th year in Boy Scouts and my 6th year in Scouts.
Okay, and you can see what. I guess it's like in anything. You could have somebody that's an Eagle Scout that doesn't quite turn out, nothing's guaranteed. But
Right.
boy, I can tell you, I can see quite nice young men, and
One of the-
I know before. Believe me, I know from before the show started. It's not like they're necessarily bookworms or anything. I know that you guys are involved in everything. And Adam, you play a lot of sports, I think you mentioned. So, and you obviously like cooking and probably eating.
Yes,
See.
I rather enjoy eating.
So that's the thing. That's the connection there that you understand. Just like it
Right.
was when I went in the service, they hand you a little thing and they say, "This is your housewife." It's like a housewife, and it was a sewing kit.
Sure.
Your mother isn't here for you to sew anymore. And you're
Right.
like, wait a minute, I know that was a long time ago, but you learn right away that, hey, if you want it, you gotta probably learn to do it yourself might be a good idea, and that's sort of what
Yeah.
you teach.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we learned that someone else could do for us, but we do for ourselves. I know most of the boys in the troops know how to sew, I think. I know how to, I've sewn on some of my own patches, and I feel like Adam's probably sewn on a couple of his patches. But we learn how to sew, cooking. We go through a national youth leadership training, one of the best times of my life in scouting. There's a lot of different activities that prepare us for the world. We have personal management merit badge, which is all about managing money. We have family life merit badge, all about how to better act in your family and support them. Stuff like that that isn't necessarily outdoor skills, but will prepare you for life.
Well, when I think of the Boy Scouts of America and the organization that it is, if somebody just says, describe to me in one sentence, really what my own personal opinion is of it, I'll say it's an umbrella organization. It sits over, like the old umbrella commercials from an insurance carrier that you might
Absolutely.
remember. It's an umbrella for, whatever faith you might be practicing in your church. It may be encompassing whatever sports or fitness programs you're involved in or extracurricular activities after school. It encompasses your family life. And then the Scouts part of it as well. So, it sits over all of that. It doesn't replace any one of those pieces, which I think is really important. And, especially we have some Scouts that are absolutely talented when it comes to sports. Adam's one of them. Great lacrosse player. Soccer, so these guys, we don't tell them they have to choose between Scouts or sports. If anything, sometimes we hear the opposite, that they have to choose the sports or scouts. It's the opposite sometimes. But and some coaches are better than others in allowing them to make changes, I would say. But we've never made the youth feel like they have to choose a church over scouts, family over scouts, sports over scouts, or whatever else it might be. And I think that's one of the things that's nice about the program is it endorses all of those things because it really wants to recognize a well-rounded individual and not just make them one type of person. Then we'd be failing in our mission. And our mission is really to provide, kind of three really key areas. They're sick of hearing me say the first one, which is the first, you answer it. What is it I always say? This is a what moment?
Character development moment.
Okay, can you describe what a character development moment might be? Funny or not, it's okay.
Character development is basically like if you fail, we don't get mad or anything. We try to help you, like try to develop the skills, which is a character development moment, which we like to call it.
Yeah, and so sometimes, and I was kind of saying this as a joke a little bit, there's moments where I've said, oh, that's a character development moment, and these guys get sick of hearing me say that, but, Lord Baden-Powell, who started the Boy Scouts organization, not in America, but worldwide, basically said that scouting is like a laboratory for youth. And so we give them a lot of leash, if you will, if you can forgive me for that analogy, but, and because it's a youth-led program, they don't have the wisdom and experience that perhaps you and I have based on our
All the mistakes we've made.
Lori's younger than both of us because she has no gray, but so that's a really that's one of the strengths I find is the character development. We allow them in a safe environment to fail if they fail or succeed if they succeed, and if they fail, then we kind of redirect and coach through that process. Do you know what the next one would be?
Future development.
What is it?
Future development, preparing them for the future.
No, not exactly, but one of them's fitness from a mental, physical health perspective. So basically, and Denali mentioned like the personal fitness merit badge earlier. That's so fitness in general. We don't define it as mental health or physical health, but just fitness in general. And then the last one it has to do with civic duty, and that's doing community service. So everything from marching into parades. I think you've done your fair share of maybe Knights of Columbus suppers and helping to serve. What are some of the other service projects you guys have participated in?
Blood drives.
Blood drives, yep, that's right. You did that recently.
In a pinch stuff.
Oh, great.
Yep, in a
Food
pinch.
pantry? Yeah.
Non-food pantry.
Oh.
It's a non-food pantry.
Oh, okay, yep, that's right.
That's true. It's the non-food.
The park, Adam.
Oh yeah.
What's that one?
I do a park.
Oh, yes, right. You mean like you through what
Yeah.
program though?
The Heart of Biddeford.
Heart of Biddeford, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
So-
So involved in the community
Right.
within the Boy Scouts, but also,
In our local community. We certainly want to be we're part of a large community in a sense of Boy Scouts, but we're also very much into our individual community and supporting that.
That's
Scouts encourages the boys to help their community, and that's one of the steps to some of these merit badges. You have to do, so many community hours before you can advance and write.
And we have a merit badge designed specifically to get kids influenced in their community. We have citizenship in the community, which requires you to get active in your community.
that's great. I mean, it's just like, even you kind of step down and look at a very simple thing. When you have a young person, for instance, that maybe wants to buy a bicycle, and they have to work and they have to save for that bicycle for a year or whatever,
Sure.
they appreciate it more for what it is because they had to work for it. They also know, what it means to have to work and to have that. And I guess in the community, it's the same way. When the young people are involved with the community from a young age, they kind of appreciate a little bit more, and they know the work that goes into it, and also helping. Let's face it, we need all the help we can get. So
Yeah.
that's fabulous. Now, let me ask